speaker, author, very impressive book. And in the book, Adam Thielen, the tight end or wide receiver?
Wide receiver.
He does the introduction in the book, which is very impressive. And he's not here today, is he?
He's not. Maybe he's going to come in later. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Keep her out.
But Cindra has got a strong message. She's well connected. She's a PhD degree, has a master's and a PhD degree, and she's here to share her thoughts on Beyond Grit. There is a book called Grit. I don't know if you've read the book Grit, but this is Beyond Grit. So let's welcome Cindra Kamphoff.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Well, to start, I actually want to give a big round of applause for Don. I'm just really impressed. I came here last week to hear Scott, and just the level of enjoyment and family in this group is just amazing. So let's give Don a round of applause. Okay, so what I actually thought maybe I could start with today is a little bit about my work. Maybe I could start with talking about what it's like to work with Pro Bowl athletes like this, or what it's like to be on the sidelines during Vikings games and Vikings practices. I think that would be really fun. But what I really want to share with you today is a little bit about my perspective. You see, this is where I am between two linebackers, and my field of vision is about right here. But really what I'm planning on doing today is talking a little bit about my work and how I think it can help you as well. And what we're going to be talking about today is really about how your mindset is your engine. And what I mean by that is it really powers every single thing that you do. It powers your emotions, it powers your actions, it powers your destiny. And so we're going to be talking about actually what that means today, and I think we all know this as optimists, but what I'd like to do is share with you a few strategies and tools that you can use just to improve your everyday life. And you might think like riding, mindset is like riding a bike. Like once you learn it, you got it. But in fact, I see it quite the opposite. I see that mindset is something that we have to practice every day. And so that's why I call it a practice, because even somebody like me who has a degree in the field, I'm constantly having to practice my own mindset so I can reach my goals and dreams and have the impact on the world that I was designed to make. So it's really a practice. It's something that we have to work on every single day. And what we're going to be talking about today is what I call high performance. And really what this means is it's really focused on yourself. And what I mean is I'm not defining high performance as you're working to outperform anyone else. To me, what it really means is that you reach your potential, that you're working to reach your potential every single day. And so we're going to talk about some tools and strategies you can use to do that. And what I thought I would do is first start a little bit about sharing you a story, perhaps the Viking that I've had the most impact on. And so I worked with the Vikings organization for 3 years. And I started actually working college football probably about 7 or 8 years ago. And the first team actually that I worked with in the state of Minnesota was Minnesota State Maverick football team. And Adam Thielen was a senior there. Raise your hand if you have heard the name Adam Thielen. Okay, well look at that, that's impressive. Anybody Packer fan here? Okay, just a couple, okay. So I started working with the football team. So one of the things I do is I work with teams, I work with lead athletes, I work with some college and high school athletes, I work with CEOs. And so this team I started working with about 8 years ago when Adam was a senior. And so what we did with this team is we did mental training workshops every single week. So every single week we were talking about a topic that could really help them gain the high performance edge over someone else. And I got to see Adam really grow as a leader. Now, as a senior in college, nobody actually really thought Adam was going to make it to the NFL. To be honest, people were asking him, including his girlfriend at the time, who's now his wife, what's your plan B? Right? They just didn't really think that he'd do it from a Division II school. But the Vikings gave him a shot. They gave him a shot at what's called rookie tryouts. And they liked what they saw. They liked his mental toughness. They liked his ability to persevere. And so they signed him onto the practice squad. The next year, he got an opportunity to play special teams. The next year, he was Special Teams Player of the Year for the Vikings. Then he got, a starting spot 2 years ago. And this last season, he was a Pro Bowler, leading the Vikings in over 1,200 yards. So, I start with his story because I think he's an optimist. I think, that he really embraces mental training and training your mind. And we're going to be talking a little bit about my 10 practices, which you have in the middle of your table. And I think he embraces all of them. So I've had this amazing opportunity to work with, some of these high-profile athletes. And so I want to share with you a little bit about what he said in the introduction to the book. So he said, I kept my head where it belonged, focused on every opportunity that was given to me. And then he said, rather than focusing on things I can't control, variables that will change whether I want them to or not, I keep my mind focused on what I can control. So he shares a few of these things that we're going to talk about today, dominating the controllables. And then, he says, I kept my head focused where it belonged. He continues and he says, your best self is on the other end of your trail of grit, which grit really means your passion and purpose for what you do and for your long-term goals. And then he says, if you never stop searching for what makes you the best version of yourself, then that's when you'll take off beyond boundaries you never even knew were there. Well, isn't that amazing? I think that he's a great example of somebody who's always continuing to improve, always continuing to get better. And even though he made the Pro Bowl last year, I think he's hungrier than ever. And that's what the best do, is they're constantly searching for the best version of themselves and what that means. So this is a little snapshot of what we're going to talk about today. How's that sound? Yeah, okay, perfect. So here are, if you want to grab out the colorful sheet in the middle of your table, I thought I'd give you a snapshot of 3 of these practices. And I want to do it in a fun, interesting way, but also give you some really tangible tools that you can use. And so here are the 3 that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about, we're going to start with actually number 5, dominating the controllables and what that means. We're going to define that and really think about how can we even level that up a little bit more. We are going to talk about, next we're going to be talking about, let's see, we're going to talk about number 2, get clear on your purpose. And we're going to do an exercise called Own Your Why and really what that means. And then we're going to end with mastering your thoughts. And I know all of you know the importance of thoughts, but we're going to just kind of dive into that a little bit more. So this is what we're going to do today, just to help us be stronger and more focused on what we want and be the best version of us that we can. So, my guarantee is, there's no kind of professional growth without personal growth. And I think that's actually where it starts. And when you really work to master your mindset, to me, that's where you gain the high performance edge, right? You're more purposeful, you're more intentional, and you're more positive. So what I thought we'd do is before we dive in, I want to do a quick exercise. All right, get some good energy in the room, and so I need one volunteer. Who's gonna volunteer to help me? Yes, right here. Yeah, Dan, come on up. All right, okay. So this is what we're gonna do. Don and I are gonna play this game here. I'm gonna have you do it in a second, all right? And what Don and I are gonna do, Dan, I thought it was Dan. We are just gonna count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, every other person. Okay? So I'm gonna start with 1, and then 2, and then 3. 1, 2. Okay, ready? Okay, Dan. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, so you say 1.
1.
Yeah, there we go. I know. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like every other person. All right? Okay, I know, it's kind of tricky. It's super tricky. All right, ready? 1,
2,
3,
1,
2,
3,
1,
2,
3,
1,
2.
3.
Okay, exactly like that. All right, so what I want you to do is stand up, turn to the person next to you, introduce yourself you don't know, and then say 1, 2, 3. When you see me going like this, I'm going to give you the next instructions.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to try it out. Thank you, Dan. Can you stay up here?
I'll see you.
Okay.
You want me to stay here?
Yeah, I'm going to go grab yeah, sure, I'm going to grab a glass of water.
1, 2, 3.
Get some water in a minute.
3.
Yeah. Perfect. Do so. Let's do it. Okay, we're going to make it a little bit more harder, more difficult. Yeah. All right. Attention up here. So we're going to make it a little bit more difficult, okay? And what we're going to do is we are going to stomp for 2, okay? So Dan and I are going to show you here what we're going to do. So Dan, you start with 1.
1, 3,
1.
2,
Oh, okay. 3. 1. What you say?
1, 3.
1, 3. All right, try it out. Try it out. Go for it. Try it out.
1, 3.
I screwed up.
That's what, yeah, tell me about it. That's amazing. I want to read
I
that.
didn't pay for it.
That's amazing.
They invited me to write.
Okay, so one more round here. Next round. We're going to level up the difficulty, and so what we're going to do is we're going to clap for 3. So we'll still say 1, we'll still stomp for 2, we'll clap for 3. All right, so Dan and I are going to demonstrate it up here. Ready? So
1,
1.
2,
Oh, so you stomp for 2.
stop.
3.
1.
All right, try it out. Try it out. Go for it. Go for it. No, it's hard. Want to try it? Okay, so let's just get better used to it.
1.
1. 1.
1. 2. 1.
1.
1.
It's hard.
It's hard.
Oh, so you said 1. 1. I say 1.
1.
All right, okay. Very nice job. So guess what? We're going to now go to the original way. We're going to go to the original way, so we're going to count really fast as we can. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, every other person. So Dan and I are going to demonstrate. Ready? 1. Oh, so yeah, you said.
I'm a horse.
So you just, no, we'll go back to the original way. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Okay.
That's the count.
Yeah,
Ready?
okay.
1,
2,
3,
1,
2,
3,
1,
1,
2.
3.
Like that, all right? Go for it, try it out. That was awesome. Saw that, isn't this amazing? Can I read it later? Can I read it later?
Yeah, read it later.
Prosser, right? Okay, I'm going to mention it. I'm going to mention him. Let's get out of here. All right, give the person you just played with a high five and have a seat. High five, high five. Okay, just wait.
Go back?
You just wait for me. Yeah, I'm going to have him give a round of applause.
Oh, no.
As you're sitting, could you give Dan a round of applause for just coming up here? And if you didn't know this, Dan was just featured here in the Minnesota Business Magazine, so you got to check it out up here. There we go. Okay, so I actually start with that for a few reasons. What do you think? How does this apply to our work? What lessons can we take from this exercise? Does anyone have any ideas? Humor. Yeah, you had to have fun. Yep, what's that?
Listening.
You had to listen. There was a lot of distractions going on in the room, right? A lot of ways that you could have gotten just kind of sucked into not staying present. Yeah, what do you think back there? If you don't focus on the instructions or what the other person is doing, right, you can't really process or have to play this game. All right, nice job. Phil, did you have your hand up? Focus. Okay. No, I was kind of, yeah, what do you think?
Intentional deliberate practice.
Nice.
Start off and
Nice.
it's hard, but then you made it harder and harder. So when we went back to the first one, it was now easy.
Excellent, excellent. So that's actually the point that I wanted to make, is when we made it more difficult in the middle, it became easier in the end, right? And yeah, I thought, how are optimists going to approach this exercise? Did you hear what you did when I said it's going to get more difficult? What did people do? Yeah, so I didn't hear anyone cheer, actually. I heard most people like, oh, Oh, I had one person swear in the back. You know? I thought optimists would just be like, let's go for it, you know. What I would encourage you to do is just to think about how did you respond in this situation, and how is it maybe similar or different than how you typically respond to challenges. Because what we know about optimists is that when they experience a difficulty or setback, right, and that's a given, they take it head on and they say, no big deal, I got this. So great job just in terms of getting out of your comfort zone and trying something new. So let's jump into the practices. And I know Don likes handouts, okay? So he said it'd be great if you brought a handout. I'm like, all right, I will deliver. Grab this goldenrod sheet right here. And there's a place for you to put in a few notes about the practices we're talking about today. And the first one we're going to talk about is honestly foundational to high performance. And if you're anything like me, it's actually pretty difficult to practice every day. And so we're going to talk about what do the world's best do related to this, and then how can we learn from some of the world's best mistakes. So what I'd like you to do is, so practice one, we're talking about dominating the controllable. So you see the circle right here. And just with me, take some notes. And what I'd love for us to do is, if you could just raise your hand and tell me some things that you cannot control, okay, cannot control, but impact the bottom line of your business, or impact the bottom line of how your family runs, or impacts the bottom line of how you perform every day. So things you cannot control. What we're going to do is we're going to put these outside the circle. Terry, what do you think?
Weather.
Weather. And we live in Minnesota. I was just telling my table that my husband and I lived in North Carolina for 7 years, and we would drive back and forth at Christmas, and we made a list one winter of the places we would never live. And Minnesota was number 1. And we're here, so I don't know how that works. But right, we can't control the weather, but that can definitely impact our day-to-day. Yes, what do you think? Yes, absolutely, yes. Right here, we got some more right here. Okay, so we cannot control the weather. What else? Okay, clients' vacation schedules. How does that impact your day-to-day? Deadlines. And sometimes they're on vacation and don't. Okay, nice job. What else can you not control, Nicole?
My husband's job search.
Yes, all right. And that definitely impacts your day-to-day, right? Maybe even your day-to-day stress. So we can't control our spouses or our kids and their decisions, right? What other things can we not control? Right there.
Other people's health.
Yes, you can't control other people's health. So again, put these outside the circle as we're talking. This is you can kind of follow along and take some notes, but you can't control other people's health. Yes, Mary? Congress. Yes, you can't control, we're just going to call this politics, all right? You can't control that. Back here I saw another hand. What do you think? That was yours. Okay, excellent. Yes, back there.
Turnover at other companies.
Turnover at other companies. How does that impact your bottom line?
If you're in communication with somebody, have a partner there, and suddenly they're gone, you have to re-screen it.
Ooh.
Progress with process.
Absolutely. So you can't control, we could even just call this competition. You can't control the competition. We couldn't control the Eagles, for example, right? We can't control the competition. Anything else that impacts your day-to-day or your bottom line in your business that you have no control over? Yes? Others' attitudes. So let's put that outside the circle. Yeah, right back there. What do you think? Your customers, your clients, your customers. You can't control their ultimate decision, right? You can control what you put forward, but you can't exactly control them. All right, anything else you're thinking? Yeah, Dwayne.
Mindset.
The other people's mindset. Their mindset. You can't control other people's energy. You can influence it, obviously by bringing more positive energy than their negative energy, but you can't control that. All right, excellent. So I'm impressed. I think we've done a really nice job. So here are the things that I was brainstorming before this. If you have a boss, you can't control your boss. You can't control your clients, the economy, changing technology. Maybe that might frustrate you. Or traffic. That's actually, to be honest, my trigger. And maybe because I don't live in the cities, I live in Mankato, and so I'm not always keen on understanding the traffic. But I have to make sure that I dominate my response to it, right? So these are all the things that you cannot control. So I start with this actually for a really important reason. Because these things, so if you could put on your notes, equal frustration. So they equal frustration or blame or anger. So when we're typically focused on these, they're leading to negative energy for us. Maybe a more positive or a more pessimistic perspective. So if you could write equals frustration, anger, and blame. Now there are three things I'm going to say we absolutely can control. What do you think those three things are? Your attitude. Let's put that inside the circle right at the top. Your attitude. We do have 100% control over that, right? And sometimes people think that, well, I just woke up with this kind of attitude today, I'm just going to stick with it. But we can change our attitude by changing our focus. What are we paying attention to? Are we paying attention to the good in our family or in our work? Are we paying attention to the bad? So absolutely, you can control your attitude. What else do you think? I saw another hand over here.
How we respond to others.
How we respond to others. Yes. So maybe let's call that our effort, and let's put that on the bottom of the circle. That we absolutely can control the effort we put forward every day, how we respond to other people. Sometimes in my field, we talk about an equation called E plus R equals O, that if you want to change the outcome, which is the O, you can't control the event, which is the E, but you can change your response, right? All right, and then there's a word, yeah, what do you think back there? Actions. All right, nice. So we can control our actions. There's a word that starts with P that I'm looking for. What do you think? Preparation. All right, I knew Scott would know it. All right, we're going to put preparation right in the center, okay? And we can probably argue that there are other things that we can control, but what I'm going to break it down to is we can control our inner ape, right inside that circle. Now, you maybe noticed on that 10 practices sheet that I used the word dominate. And I use that for a really important reason, is because what I see that the best do is that whenever they're focusing on something they can't control, they dominate their response. They get their attention back very quickly, within seconds, to what they can control. So that's what I mean by dominate. Now, does anybody know what the average NFL career is? Like, how long is an average player in the NFL? Yeah, 2.7. 2.7. So it's not very long. And to be honest, when I'm working with players, and the first time that I sit down with somebody, and if they're really wrapped up in things they can't control, like coaches' decisions, like contracts, like playing time, like haters on social media, that's typically their last season they're around. And so my theory is that for every minute they're focusing on things they can't control is one less minute than they're in the league. So I'm going to say that again. For every minute they're focusing on something they can't control is one less minute than we even have the opportunity to watch them. They might get traded to other teams, but they're not here. And what I find as I watch them is they leave the league really quickly. Because again, these things outside the circle lead to frustration and blame and anger. So for you, the bottom line is that every minute we're focusing on something we can't control, one less dollar that's in our pocket, one less dollar that we're earning. And that's why it's so important. It's actually why I start with it, because it's foundational to high performance, to us just being at our best every day. So I have a fun way of getting this into our bodies, all right? So we're going to channel our inner football player. How does that sound? Okay. So I'd like you to kind of sit up in your chair, right? And the acronym is APE, and once you do this, you're not going to forget it, all right? So you can channel your favorite Vikings player, maybe even your favorite Packers, Jody, all right? And I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and then we go hoo-hoo like an ape. Why not? Ready? 1, 2, 3, hoo-hoo. 1, 2, 3, hoo-hoo. 1, 2, 3, hoo-hoo. 1, 2, 3, hoo-hoo. 1, 2, 3. Nice job. Give the person next to you a high five just for doing it, man. All right, so I actually had you do that for a specific reason because now I know you'll remember it. And so, you know, when I'm driving and I get caught up in traffic and I get frustrated, you know what I'm doing is I'm using a cue word to get back to what I can control. And then sometimes I might even go, hoo-hoo, just to like, hey, just step it up. And, you know, on the Vikings, this is what we use. So we use the phrase CTC, okay, control the controllables. And there are several guys who, as they're walking out on the field, they're saying that to themselves because they might, maybe their tendency is to get frustrated about angry fans, or they might get frustrated about coaches' decisions or playing time, right? So they're saying CTC. My phrase is I say ape up. Okay, instead of shape up, I just say ape up. Ape up, Cindra. Or a teenage girl gave me this one, and I'm like, this is good. Dominate. Dominate, all right? Last week I was speaking at an elevator company, and they came up with elevate. I'm like, people are really creative. So why am I talking about this? Because I think we need a Q word. I think our natural tendency is to focus on things we can't control. It's easy, because, it's easier to blame than take responsibility. But what I see that the best do is they're dominating their ape. So I'd like to share with you a real-life example of this. Anybody, who's this guy? Michael Phelps. So he's a U.S. swimmer, the most decorated Olympian of all time. And does anybody remember seeing this? Okay, if you're on social media in any way, you saw this picture a lot. And so let me give you the backstory a little bit. So this was during the last Olympic Summer Games, and these two swimmers are getting ready to go swim. And I kind of maybe call it the swimming ready room. So they were in the room before they go out on the deck. And the guy in the back is Michael Phelps. And the swimmer in the front, his name is Chad LaClose. And he had actually beat Michael earlier in the year. So there's a really good chance that he was going to win that day. And so he's in this room right before they go out on the pool deck, and he's working to get in Michael's head. And so he's doing everything he can. And at one point he's kind of boxing in front of Michael like this. And what do you see Michael doing?
Not a frowny face, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. He's trying not to pay attention. Yeah, and it's like it turned on his grit. It turned on his determination. You could even see it in his eyes. Like he was like, man, I'm going to dominate. That's what I think he's saying. And so I watched them go out on the pool deck. And what Chad LaClose does is he looks at Michael. So he's like looking at Michael. And then they get right behind the blocks. And again, Chad LaClose looks at Michael. So he keeps on looking at Michael. Whereas I see Michael do something really important. And he turns his back to Chad LaClose. And he gets mentally ready, right? Puts his cap on and his goggles on. And it's like, he knew that he had to avoid the distraction, avoid the things that he couldn't control. And so the race starts in a 200-meter race, by the way. So that's like 1, 2, 3, 4, really short race. And so what happens in the race? Chad LaClose looks at Michael. It's a 200-meter race. So what happens, there's actually some reports that he looked at Michael multiple times. But, even if it was once, Chad LaClose gets fourth by seconds, and Michael Phelps wins. So my point is that even when you're a world-class athlete, world-class leader, world-class salesperson, we can easily get caught up on things we can't control. Even at the highest stage, right? The biggest stage. And so what's important for us is just to continue to focus on what we can. All right. So with me one more time if you'd like. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Woohoo! 1, 2, 3. Woohoo! 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we're going to go to practice number 2, which is own your purpose. And I think this actually fits really well with optimists, because what I see is when we really own our purpose and our why, we have more power to do it. And so this practice is as practice 2 on your 10 practices. And so when we really own it, when we know it, it gives us more reason to persevere. It gives us more power to do the work that we're intended to do. And, I think we're happy and we're more optimistic. Raise your hand if you've ever seen a TED Talk by Simon Sinek. Right, nice job. And so this TED Talk where Simon Sinek is talking about really how he's talking about companies and the best companies. And he uses Apple as an example. And he says, one of the reasons that what makes Apple so successful is that they communicate from the inside the golden circle. So they communicate from their why. They don't tell people what they do, but why they do it. And so I'd like us to apply this concept to us. right? Just to help us get even more excited and passionate and purposeful about what we do. And so the way we can apply it to us is, what we do is like our job title or the other roles that are important to us. And maybe a few of us have really thought about like how we do that and how we do it at our best. But I'd like to get even more clear on the why, this inner circle. Why do you do the work that you do? And, he says something I think is really insightful. He said, working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. But working hard for something we love is called passion, right? And so I think it's all about perspective. How are we seeing the stress? And are we connecting our why and our purpose to that stress? It makes it easier when we do. So I want to share with you an example about where I came to really understand my why and my passion at a deeper level. So one of the things that I do is I run marathons. So I ran 15 marathons, 5 Boston marathons. And the Boston Marathon is my favorite. And the reason it's my favorite is for a few reasons. You feel like you're winning the race, even when you're not. There's like 5 people deep on each side of the whole 26.2 miles. And it's just, I have a special place in my heart for that race. And a couple of years ago, ran the race and ran a personal best. So a personal best of the Boston Marathon, which is really difficult because the course is 13 miles downhill. Okay, and that sounds all great, but by the time you get to 13, your quads are on fire and they're already hurting, and you have 13 more miles uphill to what's called Heartbreak Hill. So this year I was really well-trained and I crushed it. And I get through the race and I'm like, yeah. It was amazing. And I almost gave so much in the race that I couldn't walk. So I was like super gritty. So like my quad was like not working, but I was proud of that. It meant that I gave everything. And so I'm walking back to my hotel room and I realize I'm in the middle of this. So I'm a block from the Boston Marathon bombing. And my hotel is a block from this finish line. And so we get to the hotel room. I'm with my husband and our closest running friends from Minnesota, and we start realizing what happened. And, to be honest, I didn't know if I was going to get home. There were multiple reports that there were more bombs along the course, and then there might be a bomb in our hotel. So at the time, my kids were 3 and 5, and, you start questioning, am I really living the life that I'm supposed to? Am I really using my gifts the way I'm intended to? And that afternoon was really tough. It really gave me some time to question what I'm doing. And so here's actually the questions that I asked myself, like, why am I here? What difference do I make? And why do I do this? And at the time, I was mostly using most of my time as a professor at Minnesota State Mankato, publishing all this fancy research that maybe Scott read, but nobody else in the room, But, I was publishing stuff for other professors, and I started really questioning, is this what I want to do? And I got some big goals, and one of them is to work with my dream team, the Minnesota Vikings. So let's wake it up. Let's wake up, Cindra. Let's step it up. And so I got home, and I started making different decisions. And so I think what that allowed me to do is really to think about, why am I here? What difference do I make? And it allowed me to be more intentional and purposeful with my time and energy. And so I don't think you have to be at the Boston Marathon bombing to do this. So what I'd like you to do is turn your goldenrod sheet over. And let's get a little bit more clear on what you do and why you do it. So what we're going to do is at the top of the sheet, it says, what do I do? What do I do? So on the sheet, at the top of the sheet, just write a few of your roles. So for example, you should write your job title. Write your job title. But you should also write down other roles that are important to you. So for me, my role as a mother and a wife are incredibly important to me. Even my role as a marathoner is important to me because I think that I inspire other people by running those marathons. So what roles are important to you? So write, what do I do? So again, write your role, your job title, and other roles that are important to you. Okay? And then what I'd like you to do is just answer the prompt, so that. And I've given you several prompts to answer for a reason, because I think, the first prompt might be a little superficial, but when you really get deeper into why you do what you do, I think you're going to see a little more kind of deeper answer. So just take a few minutes and write what good comes from the work that I do, why do I do it? And I'll give you some of mine as you're writing. So I think about why I do this work, and so I can inspire other people and give them really tangible tools they can use. I do this work to be a good role model for my two boys, Carter and Blake, right? And even when I'm at the Vikings, I'm really intentional with my focus, because I think, by helping them play better, and it gives us a better chance of winning, when maybe it keeps our state happier and more prideful, right? So think about the ripple effects. When you do the amazing work that you do, what happens? What happens to your communities? What happens to your family? What good comes from that? I'm just going to give you a few minutes to answer that. All right, why don't you turn to the person next to you and look at this list that you have. Star the one that makes the most difference to you. If you really thought about it every day, what would be that one reason that you would want to talk about or remember? And then just share with the person next to you. Why do you do what you do? Well, first, talk about what you do and why you do it. I'm just going to give you 30 seconds each person. All right, go for it.
Care about them, we want to do good things. We want to do good things, but there are people here who will help listen and help their dreams come The bottom line is
together. Wow. Let's take 3 examples of your why. All right, let's take 3 examples. I think I could have kept you talking for 10 minutes, right? Could have. All right, nice job. 3 examples of your why. Tell us what you do and why you do it. Tell us what you do and why you do it. 3 examples. Who would like to share? Yes.
Sure.
Kevin, you want to stand up? Tell us what you do and why you do it.
I'm a lawyer,
Awesome.
and I work to help solve my clients' problems.
Awesome. And what happens when you help them solve their problems? What good does it do for them?
Well, it hopefully saves them money or eliminates a headache or keeps them out of trouble.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Let's give Ryan,
Kevin.
where'd Ryan come from?
So close.
Okay, so close, not even. All right, let's give him just a big clap. I'm saying what? Okay, perfect. All right, 2 more examples. Why do you do what you do? Yeah, Dwayne, go for it.
I'm a personal trainer.
Mm.
I'm a personal trainer, and I know you can have all the money, you can be a worldwide traveler, all these different things, but if you don't have your health, none of that really matters. So what I do is try to keep people fit so that they can do everyday things without getting sore, these kinds of things.
Awesome. Let's give him a round of applause. Good job, Dwayne. Right there. One more. I saw a hand back there.
There isn't too much that I can do as I get a little older, but one thing that I've always done is help others. And the reason for that is to make a better day for them, and so that they perhaps don't have to be a professional to get the job done that I can do, and then also perhaps instilling them that you always pay forward to help someone else.
Awesome. Awesome. Let's give him a round of applause. So I'd encourage you today is to share with somebody that you love, somebody that you love. Tell them why you do what you do, and tell them all of these 6 reasons. And you know, you see at the top of the sheet it says own your why. So what I mean by this is, do you own it? Do you own these reasons? And to me, what this really means is that, number 1, you communicate it. In your work, do you communicate your why very clearly right from the beginning when you work with a client? Or when you're going for a job interview, do you describe to them why you do it? And number 2, can you use it to inform your decisions? Maybe there's some things that you have to say no to that don't give you energy. That's what I do. I say, does this give me energy or not? If it doesn't, you know, that's an opportunity I'm going to say no to, or something I'm going to say no to. And I think you can all use that guide too. So do you use this to inform your decisions? And number 3, can you remind yourself of it every day? You know, I have these in my car on a Post-it note. So I remind myself, hey, this is why I'm doing it, right? It helps me stay more fueled, more passionate, more gritty about my work. Okay, so great job on that. Let's kind of close up today with practice number 3. And you know how I can connect this to an optimist or optimism in general. There's a chapter in my book about the power of optimism. And you probably know this, but in case you don't, do you know that optimists live longer? They have fewer infectious diseases. They're less likely to have cancer. And they have overall better health habits than pessimists. They have better performance consistently. And optimists perform better under pressure. They generally have less stress, more self-confidence, and more resilience. So all of this research is from Marty Seligman. And so, gosh, the person I think I could give you as an example, you might have seen him play this year, is Case Keenum. So I think he is an optimist. And one particular reason that I think he's an optimist is, you know, that the game against the Saints at home when we had the Minneapolis Miracle. Remember that? Raise your hand if you saw that. Yeah. Okay. And so does anybody know what Case Keenum said in the huddle right before that play? So you know what Case Keenum could have done, because it was a big pressure moment. There were just seconds left on the clock, and he could have been filled with anxiety and pressure. And if he would have done that, if he would have chosen that, he wouldn't have been able to capitalize in the moment. And so he took the optimistic perspective, and what he said in the huddle is he said, I'm going to give one of you a chance. I'm going to give one of you an opportunity to make something happen here. And so what happens? You know, what we know now is the Minneapolis Miracle. So it kept us alive for one more season because the leader was optimistic. The leader didn't in the moment feel pressure or anxiety, but he chose to see the opportunities, not the difficulties. He was reframing the situation to see what could be possible. And so I think our thoughts are so incredibly important. Perhaps maybe one of the most important things that determine our success. And you know, why this is so important is because our thoughts lead to how we feel, that leads to our actions, and that ultimately leads to our destiny, right? With our thoughts, what we allow to believe about ourselves makes a big difference. But the thing is that we have this biology as a human to deal with, okay? And so the way I kind of talk about this is I talk about how we all have ants in our mind. Okay, so I got a little plastic ant here. What in the world do I mean? Does anybody know what I mean? Or if you've read the book, maybe you know what I mean. Yes, what do you think?
Automatic negative thoughts.
Awesome. So we all have automatic negative thoughts. You know, and part of my story I really haven't mentioned much about, but I was a college track and field athlete. So I got a full scholarship to run at the University of Northern Iowa. And was very successful in high school, won the state meet, ran the fastest mile in the state of Iowa my senior year. And so I had a lot of talent. And I had a goal of being an All-American. But these nasty automatic negative thoughts I started to believe. And one year, my junior year, I ran every day in the summer before my junior season, twice a day. So I ran about 80 miles a week. And so I came into the season really incredibly fit. And the second meet of my junior year, I got second behind an All-American. And everyone said, you know, Cindra, this is your year. You got it. And I believed it until the next week when I dropped out of the race. And I didn't drop out because of my physical ability, but it got too hard in the middle. And so that's one of the reasons I'm really passionate about this is because, you know, I experienced a lot of difficulty that year. I didn't reach my potential because of these ants. So help me out. Give me some examples of automatic negative thoughts that we all have. Oh, okay. I knew that would come up. Right, is he going to miss it? What's going to happen? All right, yes.
How about staying over a 2-foot putt?
Yes, and what's the actual thought you might, are you thinking like, I'm going to miss this, this isn't going to go in, or what's the automatic negative thought you can have?
You're going to whip it out, or are you going to leave it short?
All right, excellent. What are some other examples? You know, I can't, I don't know how, there's no way. Yeah.
Leaving the house for the day and anticipating bad traffic.
Yes. Yeah, and you're anticipating bad traffic, and then you're already in a bad mood when you get there, right? Yes. I need sugar. I need it now, or I'm going to get angry. Yes, Jenny, got one?
I've never done this before.
I've never done this before. There's probably no way that I can learn it, right? Or think about your thoughts when I heard the at the 1, 2, 3 game, you know, like, this is going to be hard again. And so we do all have automatic negative thoughts. I heard one of my colleagues who works with the New York Giants say that, you know, we have a nervous system that's like 85,000 years old. And we're looking for basically what's wrong instead of what's right? We're looking for the predator instead of what's possible. But I would say something really important is that the best don't rely on this biology, right? So the best don't rely on this biology. And they're constantly working to have less negative thoughts. They're talking to themselves, not listen. So if you could turn the sheet over where it says master your thoughts. And I thought I'd share with you a few things here. So Michaela Schifrin this year, she's a skier at the Olympics. She had this awesome interview where she was talking about how even before she goes down to ski, down the slope, she has like an angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other. And she's saying, you know, am I going to die? No, I'm not going to die. I'm going to die. I'm not going to die. And I thought it was just a really great awareness of how we all can have this negativity and the negative thoughts. Here's some examples, and in the book I talk a little bit more about these. I talk about how blaming is the red fire ant, because it's the worst thing we can do because we're not taking responsibility. But, all right, 3 powerful thought principles that have helped me in situations where I might feel pressure, that have helped my clients, including the Vikings or executives, is number one, thoughts only have power if you believe them. And we frankly don't have to believe everything we think, and we shouldn't. So thoughts only have power if you believe them. You don't need to believe everything we think. And that's actually number 2. So number 1 is thoughts only have power if you believe them. Number 2 is successful people don't believe everything they think. Okay, they realize that this biology, we're going to have these automatic negative thoughts. I had a goal once that I was not going to have any negative thoughts. How long do you think that lasted? Like 10 minutes, right? So number 2 is they don't believe everything they think. They don't believe everything they think, and I think these are principles to live by. And then number 3, they talk to themselves, not listen. So the listen is what I mean by the automatic negative thoughts. That's what I mean. They don't listen to that, but they talk to themselves. And they're really intentional with their self-talk and their focus. And this is something I talk to the Vikings about a lot is, what are you thinking about as you go out on the field? What are you thinking about between plays? How are you resetting after a mistake? And all of that makes a big difference in terms of their performance. And it's really easy to see because their performance is incredibly measurable. So number 3, the best talk to themselves, not listen. And the way we can do this is, you see I have an acronym called CAR. So I like to talk just in acronyms or easy to understand things, so I think then we can use them. And so what do we do with this automatic negative thinking? We catch it. We got to notice it. The first step of high performance is self-awareness. So it means, being aware of your thoughts and your actions and how they lead to what you do. So we just got to notice it. We got to catch it. And then you really have 2 options. You don't have to believe some of it, so you can just let it move by like a car, right? The acronym CAR. Or if you need more confidence, talking back to yourself is really key. And especially it's a moment that really is going to make a difference for you. You got to build yourself up. And sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. And then the R is, so many times, and I actually had an NFL player say this to me. It's like, he said, Cindra, it's like I'm on a hamster wheel sometimes. Like it's just one negative thought from another negative thought. And so that's why I decided to put R in there. It's like we got to refocus our attention outward, right? Like go do something, go focus on our next action instead of kind of getting caught up in our head. So, think about how you could use this today, this weekend, Monday. And here's an example. The catch-it phrase might be, will I ever be good at this? Well, every day I'm growing and I'm learning, I'm getting better. And then I'm just going to focus on my next step, focus outward. So the best talk to themselves, not listen. And, the easiest way is if you're finding yourself in a rut, right, because that all happens to all of us, is talking to yourself. And the way I kind of describe the best way to talk to yourself is phrases that start with I, right? So I use I will, I can, I am. And the reason I do that is because, right, like this is what leads to success, is when you're talking to yourself, this is more likely to help you when you're like, I will, I can, I am. So if you're really struggling, just answer with one of these, I will, I can, I am. And maybe just repeat it after me so you don't forget. I will. I can. I am. And I am is the most powerful way because it's who you are. And sometimes, to be honest, we just forget. We forget who we really are. And so I use this quite often throughout my day. I have my, what I call power phrases next to my bed, and I use them when I'm running. And a few years ago, I was running the Omaha Marathon. And this race was really important because my family lives in Omaha. Anybody grew up in Omaha, or has anyone lived in Omaha? Or been to Omaha? Been to Omaha, okay, there we go. Okay. So my parents lived there, and my husband was there, and my kids were watching me, my sister was watching me. So, you probably have been in a moment where you wanted to do really well because people were there, right? All there to see you. And so I just wanted to do well. And so that summer I trained really hard. Maybe kind of was motivated by this college experience I didn't have, didn't go as I planned, and so I wanted to see what I could do. So I get halfway through the race, and you won't believe it, but my husband says to me, Cindra, you're winning the race. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm winning the marathon? And I just had so much positive thoughts and positive emotions, like my hair was standing up on all parts of like my head and my arms, because I was so pumped. And that like positive energy lasted for several miles. And I get to mile 20, right? So how much do I have left? Yeah, the 6.2 is very important. So I get to, the 0.2 is so important. But I get to mile 20 and three things happen all at once. So the second place woman, boom, right on my tail. And honestly, I did what runners probably shouldn't do. I looked behind me like half mile before and I didn't see her. So she really surprised me. And then my quads started to hurt. And then I come up to this big hill. And to be honest, I had a lot of blame. I was blaming the race directors, and I'm like, who the blankety blank puts a hill at mile 20, right? I was not happy. But help me out. What would be some of your thoughts if you were if you were in that experience? What are some actual negative thoughts that you might have? Yeah.
I hurt so much I can't do it.
I can't do this. I hurt so much. This is pain, right? What else might you be thinking? I should just stop. Like the sidelines right there, like way better. Let's trade places, right? Yeah, what do you think? I hope I don't pull a muscle. Like, are my quads going to last? Second's not so bad. Third, maybe fourth. One more? Yes, like can I really handle this? And so I let the negativity go for too long. It was down the hill, probably another half mile. And I actually had phrases written on my arm that it was like, I thought about how am I at my best, I am phrases. And it was like, I'm confident, I'm ready, I'm fit, I'm happy. I'm confident, I'm fit, I'm ready, I'm happy. I'm confident, I'm fit, I'm ready, I'm happy. And I just started repeating those to myself. And, then over time, right, it didn't happen automatically. It wasn't like I started feeling perfect. But guess what? In a half mile, I felt better. And then I could pick up my pace. And then guess what? The fastest 3 miles were my fastest of the whole marathon after I wanted to quit. And so I beat the second place woman by 5 minutes, and this is it. So my friends, you got to talk to yourself, not listen, right? I could have given in. I would have gotten 4th or 5th that day. But I had this amazing experience that it was like my body and my mind were totally in line, talking to myself, not listening. So I really appreciate your time and attention. I'm just going to finish up with a few things. So I have a podcast on iTunes where I interview some amazing people about mindset. I think I just recorded my 165th episode, which surprises me even, but it's free on iTunes or Stitcher Radio. Scott was on a month ago or so you can listen to his, you can start with his, but seriously, the best in the business, I have this amazing opportunity to interview. So you can head over to there, it's free. And then if you'd like to pick up a book or a workbook today, or both, I got a good deal if you'd like today. So the book covers the 10 practices, and if you buy both on Amazon, it's $47. So today, the workbook and book would be $30, all right, 30 together. And if you say you want to buy a couple of books for some friends, you can do 3 for $50, 3 for $50. So that's something you can come up here and grab if you'd like at the end. And I want, when I think about optimists, I think how optimists really believe in the impossible. So I want to leave you with a message about that. I want to share with you a few examples of people who've done the impossible. Does anybody know what this picture is? Yeah. So this is a picture of 1903, and Orville and Wilbur Wright piloted the first powered airplane in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. And people said that it was impossible, right? But I'm really glad they kept with it and they stayed gritty. This is a picture of Matt Schutzman, and he hit a long-distance target at 930 feet to own a new world record in December 2015. So look at him closely. Matt, known as the armless archer, was born without any arms. And he expertly used his bow and arrow using only his feet and shoulders. He broke a world record previously held by an able-bodied person. So break an archery world record without any arms, like that's impossible. Or this is Misty Copeland. She became the first African-American female principal dancer. And Time magazine reported, hold on. All right, I gotta think on my feet up here. Time magazine reported that she changed the face of ballet. So, you know, African-American principal dancer, that's impossible. Or perhaps my favorite, does anybody know who this is? This is Sarah Blakely. She's the founder of Spanx. So she was getting ready for a party in 1996 when she realized that she didn't have the right undergarments to provide a smooth look under her white pants. So she cut off the top of her control top pantyhose and got the idea behind Spanx. So she was named the world's youngest self-made billionaire. And Forbes magazine called her 100 most influential people. So Sarah, a billionaire because of Spanx? That's impossible. So what I think the world's best do is they say impossible as a dare, and instead of thinking, I think about the Audrey Hepburn quote, you know, impossible means I'm possible. So what's your impossible? Thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it. Can I mention?
Good job.
By the way, I do send out a video on mindset every couple of weeks. You can sign up here or just leave me some feedback. Let me know what you thought about today. All right, awesome.
Good, thank
Thank you, Don.
you very much, Cindra.